What kind of fresh hell is this? The Arizona Cardinals projected for yet another top 10 draft pick, Bo?
Oh, man, we live here, don't we? But our guy, Brian Baldinger, Baldy's going to stop by and tell us what the film is telling him as far as the struggling offense and Marvin Harrison Jr. It's all coming up right now, PHNX Cardinals.
Hey, welcome in live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. This fine show with a couple jokers brought to you by our friends at Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Sign up, choose your offer, find out why. It's never ordinary with our friends at Bet365. The bonus code, again, PHNX 365. When you sign up, I get to be in studio today alongside my co-host here in Circle K, Brack. We got Damon, Dawg, producer extraordinaire, behind the mic. And before everybody freaks out, we're not going to talk draft today like a couple of sickos, but we're going to point out the reality of the situation that faces our 2-4 Arizona Cardinals today.
I don't know why, what we did to deserve Johnny in studio today, but what a special day it is. Glad to see everybody here. Michael Evans, Jess, Jesus, Steven Jackson, the generous one, Z Warlock, Andy. Saw Johnny C giving us some props earlier. Big thank you to each and every one of you for locking in early with Damon, Dawg, and the rest of the crew here on PHNX Cardinals. Make sure you drop that like because we're going to talk about a couple tasty segments today, topics and such about this Cardinals football team as we're gearing up for prime time, baby. Kind of. Monday Night Football against the Los Angeles Chargers.
I've never needed a like more from our capacity crowd. Again, drop a like in the stream here, and we're going to kick things off. Couple things to talk about. We also have an update on Marvin Harrison Jr., by the way, or what we think is an update per Jeremy Fowler. But before we jump to that, The Athletic, I think that it's owned by the New York Times now, did their projection, and this has been foreign to the Cardinals up until this point, for this year at least, did their projection as it relates to where this team is supposed to finish toward the end of the year, specifically in the draft. And while I consider it still probably not likely, given the back half of the schedule, this is per The Athletic. The Arizona Cardinals right now are projected to finish 7th in the NFL draft standings. They are given a final projected record of 7-10, which, again, if they're 7-10, they're not going to be picking in the top 10, but there's a lot of teams in contention right now. Their strength of schedule plays a part in it. They've had a very difficult strength of schedule, and their playoff chances, they do have the best outside of Indianapolis playoff chances of these top 10 drafting teams at 11%. My question is, and I know it's not specified here on the graphic, but Bo, if this team, given how they've looked so far, finishes 7-10, will that appease this fan base in a weird way? Because I saw this and I'm like, well, if you're picking typically 7th in the draft, you're looking at probably somewhere between 5 to 6 wins.
Yeah.
Typically 7 to 8 to 9 wins, depending on the strength of schedule, which has been difficult for the Cardinals. You're going to be looking at a teens pick. So they're 2-4 now, which would lead me to believe that they would need to finish 500 the rest of the year.
Basically 5 and 6, right?
Yeah.
That's what they would have to get to over the last 11 games.
Would you take that? Would Cardinal fans take that at this point?
I mean, we've been doing this a lot where it's would you sign up for this? And it's a lot of people talking, well, you expected the Cardinals to be 2-4 with the gauntlet schedule. Would you expect? And we've pushed back on that. So I'll push back on this a little bit, 5 and 6, because you got to kind of think about what the context of the road to 5 and 6 would look like. It would be better than 2 games under 500, just 1 game under 500, and progress overall. But at the same time, I'm looking at our guy K1 since day one's putting up this little graphic via Pro Football Network 365. The Cardinals have the 26th strongest or schedule in the league, 7th easiest in the league going forward.
Yeah, we need it.
So to be a game under 500, I think that would be a disappointment. Not to say that our expectations have certainly taken a couple hits here through the first 6 weeks of the season, but to go 5-6 down the stretch, I think that's still a lot of losing football. If you can will your way, if you can work your way somehow to kind of tip the scales a little bit to 6-5, I know that's not that big of a difference. We've seen it, like Matt Prater missed field goal, or Chad Ryland in this case missed field goal away from maybe a win and a loss. I think that's where you start to look at what's the context of 5-6, 6-5, 7-4.
I think the Arizona Cardinals played 5 of their first 6 games against playoff teams last year, and you can sub out now the Rams as a viable option and maybe insert Washington now. And now you play a Charger team that a lot of people think that if they're not a playoff team, they're a fringe team. They're exceptionally well coached by Jim Harbaugh. Like I've scoured the interweb. It's the toughest schedule on paper that I've seen. It's not an excuse for this team. And I think that, why couldn't they be Washington? Why couldn't they surprise the NFL at 4-2? It's just the reality of the situation. I'm going to tell you right now, the Arizona Cardinals need to finish the NFL season without double-digit losses. I'm going to tell you why. Like, anytime you've got a 10, 11, a 12 next to your loss column, you're going to lose people in the process. And yes, it's an improvement from 4-13 last year, but I only look at it from, AD K1. After K1 came back, and you were projected, you had a pace of about a 500 season with Kyler Murray. Now, it's not apples to oranges, the schedule, the players, the personnel, but I think fans of this team should aim for better, and I don't think anybody's aiming for this necessarily in the chat, better than, hey, let's just try to be 500 from here on out, on top of the record we have now. Now, if you want to tell me like the Cardinals finish 8, 9, 9, and 8, then I think we're cooking with something. And I think if you ask the Cardinals behind closed doors, they would tell you that that's still realistic. Here's what I know now. Put the Chargers aside for a second. You're on track right now to play a Miami team that's not going to have Tua. You're going to play an old Aaron Rodgers. You're going to play a rookie quarterback in Caleb Williams. Yes, you play Minnesota, who I think might be on a downturn at that point. I don't think they can keep up this pace. Then you play Seattle twice, which I think at the very least you're splitting there. You got the Carolinas, the New Englands. Like, the Cardinals have to find a way. They have to find a way at the end of the day to win a couple of these games before the bye to set themselves up. Because we mentioned on yesterday's show, if the Arizona Cardinals lose these next 2 games, this is going to become the garage sale, not the garbage, but the garage sale podcast of the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to be talking about shipping off pieces because at 2-6, it's going to be hard to find buy-in from this fan base.
No doubt about it. I mean, to fall to 2-6 and really have to join the Lions in 2021 is kind of the exception to the rule, or 2022, apologies, that made their way from just the absolute dumpster to nearly getting into the playoffs with a big win in the regular season finale and ending the Aaron Rodgers era in Green Bay at the same time. That's just, I think, asking a lot of a young team that you're already, underperforming. Like, at some point, like what's going to turn around to say that, hey, they can make that type of run at the end of the season. Even though the schedule, it definitely eases out. Like, once you get past this bye week and you're facing a team in the Seahawks, and if you just take out the Vikings game, like, these are all winnable games, and then we'll see where you are as far as week 18 against the 49ers. But, games against the Patriots, the Panthers, and the Rams, like, that's where you can absolutely stack wins. Can you put yourself, though, in the position before then to keep this boat afloat? That's the biggest key here. And that was the conversation. That's the talking points that we've had, even before this season began and we started to see the flaws of this team, that you're going to have to keep your head above water. You were going to have to sniff around 500 or just a game or two around that in order to kind of really take advantage of the easy part of the schedule.
I also think it's important, like we talked about it before the season, like, we had no idea how the divisional games were going to go because they've never gone well historically, especially the Rams. But, like, we looked at the schedule and said, yeah, it's difficult. We don't expect this team to be boat raced every Sunday.
Right.
And now you do have to admit there's a troubling trend with this team talent aside, everybody's got talent. Everybody's missing players. The NFL. We can't have games that look like last Sunday again. We can't have games like it looked like against Washington.
Right.
And I just hope that, this team's going to lose games the rest of this year. I just don't know when it's going to happen. That's the biggest way that you're going to lose buy-in from this fan base on this coaching staff. Like last year, they overachieved. I think we counted on one hand how many games that were like lopsided. We've got 2 blowouts in 6 games. That needs to be done. And
right.
Again, Gannon's going to tell everybody publicly, he's going to say all the right things. If we expect to win every game, 1 game at a time, we're going to compete. But if we look back on this year, even if they're 7-10, to your point, what did it look like, right?
Right.
How did they finish against their divisional opponents who may be more viable at the end of the year in December and January? Like they have to win and compete every single week. They have to compete every single week from here on out. And we have to see a plan as it relates to what they do well and doubling and tripling down on it. Because right now, it's not only the losses, they just look completely inept and have no like grasp of who are they or what they want to be. Like I saw yesterday, like Nick Roush pushing back on, well, we don't typically blitz. Well, you can't rush the passer with 4, so why aren't you blitzing? Pivot off of that. And then the Cardinals offensively want to be this run-dominant team. That's not working right now. And you've got great weapons. Utilize that. It's a very stringent coaching staff philosophy right now that we're seeing. And I fear, like, Bo, if they don't adjust on the fly, and I've always given Gannon credit for evolving, I do worry that we're going to have more outcomes like we did on Sunday.
Well, I mean, the good thing is that you've seen, along with the 2 brutal performances, you've seen some tight games. I mean, and there's no argument here. I mean, you're not playing Carolina, you're not playing Jacksonville. You're not getting the slums of the NFL and able to put up some just tack on some garbage time scores and make yourself look better than you are. Potentially at 4-2. You've got the hardest schedule in the league. I mean, you're going up against 5 of the 6 teams that you face are in the top 10 as far as scoring offenses, and you're doing that with an undermanned defense, even more undermanned. I think especially where things get concerning is the path forward, right? Like, how can you find consistency with this team that has shown you anything but that? Like, one week they're a score away from the Bills. Another week they're shutting out the highest scoring offense in the league in the second half. They're pitching a shutout against the San Francisco 49ers, which is a top 10 scoring offense as well in the second half. And then, they're just not competitive against Jordan Love, coming off an injury, and they're down 24-0 before you know it. So I think what the biggest thing going forward is Jonathan Gannon and his 53-man roster. They need to be able to show what they were able to show last year, and the ability, resiliency to scratch and claw and compete to start this game and then get to the fourth quarter. And then when the game is decided, obviously sometimes like when you're undermanned, it doesn't work out, but put yourself in that position at least where people are being able to stick in through 45 minutes of a game and it wasn't over 15 minutes ago.
Yeah. I agree with this comment here, Hunter, echoing a lot of the comments here locally. Jonathan Gannon's not on the hot seat. Absolutely not. And I think, listen, I don't have this sourced or anything, but like if you were to sit down with Michael Bidwell, who inevitably makes all the marquee decisions as the owner of this franchise, and you asked him between his general manager and his head coach, like who is he higher on today? And I'm not saying he's down on Monty Austin for it, but Jonathan Gannon and this team, they're being asked to win a certain kind of way given the limitations with this roster. And I think that it's got to be disheartening for everybody involved, and we mentioned this yesterday, that the talent discrepancy now, especially defensively, is so severe. And that's Jonathan Gannon's side of the football that I don't even know if we're really going to have a good sense of like how good of a coaching staff this is right now. Like I
mean that's got to be proven to some extent throughout the season.
But don't you always feel like they kind of have the benefit of the doubt or an out clause? Like, who can win with this front seven? Right now, that's why there's so much pressure on Drew Petzing right now.
Yeah,
because they've got this great collection of talent and skill players, and they're not doing anything with it, and that's a quick fix. Whereas defensively, I don't know. I just feel like it was such an underserved unit, and now it's been coupled with significant injuries. Like
I think that's the key. I think the latter is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, 4 of your front 7 players that you are going to rely on are gone.
Your top 3 D tackles are gone.
Your top 3 D tackles either haven't played at a snap this season in the form of Darius Robinson, to where even, albeit they underperformed via Pro Football Focus grades, Justin Jones and Bilal Nichols, these guys that had their own, consecutive game streaks before coming in the Valley, ended unceremoniously on going to season-ending IR, and then B.J. Ojulari. I mean, 4 of them. Your top 50 picks are not available to you, haven't been available all season long, and then the 2 guys that you identified in free agency and threw the most free agent dollars at are done. They're done for the season. And when you're a rebuilding roster, you're a draft and develop team, like the guys that you brought in via free agency to supplement that underperformed and now are gone. And then the guys that you drafted in the top 50 of the draft that were supposed to be part of the solution going forward haven't been available, and hopefully D-Rob becomes available, but now he's like the lone guy. He's Will Smith standing in the living room in the Fresh Prince, and everybody's gone. Everybody's moved out.
Him and I Am Legend or Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I like this comment. Can we scroll up just briefly there in the chat? PR Mac, who's afraid of our front 7? Me. I'm afraid of it. I don't want to watch it anymore. So as we continue to have a discussion surrounding this team, be remiss. Kyler Murray was on, what was it, Kevin Clark's podcast?
Yeah.
Is Kevin with The Athletic, I believe?
No, he's with the Omaha Productions and ESPN.
Okay, so he's bouncing around. So, and it was an interesting interview, and Bo, I'll let you kind of summarize it here. But Kyler Murray doing a one-on-one interview is very unlike him, especially in season. Mm-hmm. I found that very strange. But his comments, more or less, are everything you want to hear.
Yeah, he's echoed a lot of the things that he's hit on throughout the season, in the preseason training camp. Kind of what his ultimately, like his goals, they haven't changed. Even throughout the Cardinals rebuild, his goals, his expectations is to be the best player he can be, to be a guy that's going to put his team in a position to win Super Bowls, and the accolades that come along with that. That was the kind of the discussion that he and Kevin Clark had. And then Kevin Clark, who I think a lot of people enjoy his work, whether it was from The Ringer to now at ESPN and Omaha Productions. Damon, do we have this little quote here where he was asked to self-scout himself? And this was Kyler Murray. Part of the quote is, I think statistically, this has probably been my best season, best QBR through 6 games. And so far playing the position, it's the best I've felt. But he's also, I think he's saying that as a part of like, this is where I am, but it hasn't necessarily translated to wins. And I think that's where, I think everybody would agree, like statistically, Kyler's fine. Like he looks good. I think you could probably push back, like 2021, first 7 games, he had 20 total touchdowns.
He was the MVP of the NFL.
He was unbelievable at that time. So, but for him, like to have that similar feeling and the Cardinals to be 2-4, like he remained encouraged throughout the interview. And that's an ongoing theme. Like Kyler Murray, after the 20-13 loss to the Detroit Lions, like is the fan base was upset. We were upset on the show because of the only 3 points they got in the second half, and missed opportunity after missed opportunity that was provided by this defense that we just talked about, that there's not a whole lot of confidence in, provided them. Kyler just, it feels like he's encouraged that the team continues to progress. And does it give you any faith that they're close on that side of the football after 3 of the last 4 weeks? It's been 14 points or less.
Yeah, and I see a lot of people, and rightfully so, if you see the quote and it's out of context, you might think, well, Kyler's content with numbers that are Dobbs-esque. I see, Arizona Animal pointing that out. Joshua Dobbs, we had a graphic yesterday.
Yeah.
And I think you got to try to, if possible, look past that and just say, okay, Kyler Murray's healthy right now. Knock on wood. He has never finished an NFL season healthy. That is probably going to be viewed, and it should be, as a win on him if he can do that. And this offense, and we talked about it, and it's a point I made Monday. If this offense is doing one thing right, it's keeping Kyler Murray upright. Now, they have to figure out a way to do that simultaneously while scoring more touchdowns, certainly. But I also do feel like Kyler Murray, if they can somehow turn this around and find a way to be viable and, goodness, have a winning record potentially, like that will allow Kyler Murray, I think, to continue to grow as an individual, because then he will be able to draw upon this experience, because all he knows in Arizona is losing, and specifically losing at the end of the year and not having an uptick in production. And if you win in November, December, and January, then you're going to be able to look back and be in a position where if you ever start slow again in 2027, 2028, if you're still the quarterback of this team, say, hey, guys, we've been through this before. Like, this is the rigors of an NFL season.
Yeah.
Whereas under Cliff Kingsbury, fair or not, we lived very week to week, right? And it was reactionary, and nobody really knew how to handle the brief success that they had. Clearly, like K1 didn't know how to handle it. Kingsbury, Steve Keim didn't know how to handle it. And I do feel like Kyler's in a better position now, certainly. But if you, and this is one of Gannon's best qualities, Bo, is he contextualizes everything, and he is never very much a prisoner of the moment. They are looking at this as a complete 17-game wholesale season. They are not where they want to be right now. But again, like, and I'm guilty of this as well, judging them at the end of January as compared to the end of October is going to give us a better idea. And so I do think, can we get to a point where they're on the upswing, and then Kyler Murray can just take a deep breath and say, okay, there was nothing to worry about. There was nothing to freak out about. Because I do agree with him. Like, he is being very efficient. Mm-hmm. But he also, when you're drafted over, and I, not to go on a rant with this, but I said this on the postgame show, and I want to continue to double down on it. He is probably closer right now to the 8th to 12th best quarterback in the NFL, right? His QBR is like 6th to 8th, right?
Right.
That's not what you drafted him number 1 overall to be. And that might just be who he is right now. And that's okay. Can he get to a top 5 guy? Hopefully, maybe. But you might need him to be a combination of Jared Goff, Alex Smith-esque kind of numbers. What do those players need to be able to get to the playoffs and to contend better rosters?
Yeah.
And it's evident. Kyler Murray's current play is not good enough to beat good teams with the Cardinals roster in this current state right now. Like, that's not an opinion, that's a fact.
Let's provide more context with more of the quote here. Couldn't fit it in the graphic. Didn't want to bog everybody down here, but he said, obviously, I know the results aren't what we want them to be at 2-4. We've played 6 really good teams. We got our ass kicked twice, and we've been in 14 games, for the most part. All the other ones beside the Rams, where we beat them up pretty good. So I think, the team understands that they have 2 stinkers.
Yeah.
And then they feel like, as far as the 14 games that Kyler Murray's been a part of since he returned, that they've been competitive and they've been in those games. And I understand the chat saying, like, I'm tired of just people's, talking right now. This team's all talk. There's no action. There's no results.
I can understand that.
And because it's not on the new regime's shoulders. I mean, this is just year 2 of them taking over, but this is a fan base that's been starved for far too long.
Yeah.
I mean, it was one outlier season in 2021 where they made the playoffs, and it hadn't been the playoffs since 2015.
And
that's been far too long.
And it couldn't have ended worse. I mean, you were a dumpster shell of yourself at the end of the year, then you got blown out by a division rival in a playoff game, and you blew the division. I also think it's hard to have patience when Jaden Daniels is winning. Rookies like CJ Stroud immediately come in and win and make in divisional rounds. Like, and to the people who are critical of Kyler Murray, I think I don't look past the organizational failure that the Cardinals had with him. But if you want to push that off to the side and just say, well, he's had 6-7 years to have this team be competitive. He's got a losing record. Let's move on. Like, I'm not going to argue you if you want to say that. I think there are layers to it.
Yeah.
And I think that, again, remove where he was drafted. Remove all the preconceived notions. The numbers that he's putting up this year are top 10 quarterback numbers. And Kyle Odegaard had a good Twitter post about this. I'll give him credit. Like, every other QB that's operating at a top 10 level is getting some kind of support as it relates to a defense, a passing game, a run game, whereas Kyler Murray's are all below average, right? And people are going to say, I'm making excuses. I think we all can agree right now, and I think he agreed to this yesterday, Bo, with you and the rest of the media. Drew Petzing needs to do a better job. Like, the offensive coordinator of the Arizona Cardinals is underserving K1, Marvin, etc. And then defensively, this unit, which I was high on with the improvements that they've made in the offseason to some degree, is, certainly bottom 3rd defensive personnel in the NFL.
Yeah, especially after suffering all those key injuries.
Yeah.
So, it was rare to see Kyler, show up on social media today as part of some interview. Usually pretty pretty off limits during the regular season.
I'm guessing it was recorded like last week.
Yeah, and I mean, they didn't have anything today, no practice or anything. So they'll be back on the practice field tomorrow. And Kyler, when he usually talks Wednesday, he'll be talking after practice tomorrow. So we'll hear from the Cards franchise quarterback. We did get an update as far as his 4th overall pick, Marvin Harrison Jr. Jeremy Fowler, in his most recent article on ESPN.com. He put it out there, just kind of some news and notes from around the league. He had that the Cardinals, quote, have some level of optimism about wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. returning soon, depending on how fast he can pass through the 5 phases of concussion protocol. That's Jeremy Fowler of ESPN on ESPN.com with the latest on Marv, who, I mean, in this picture, it's him exiting the game early on Sunday. And with the extra day, you look at those 5 phases of concussion protocol, you got to think that he should be able to make it through.
Yeah, I was initially pessimistic that the Cardinals and Marvin would be able to pass this. And the Cardinals historically have taken a very conservative approach, and I commend them for that when bringing players back from major injuries and concussions. But I think, number one, Marvin tried to re-enter the game on Sunday, and that's not everything. Number two, they pulled him from the game early, right? It's not like he played with a concussion during the game. It was in the early slate, and they've got ample time now. And I think that extra day of rest is going to be huge, right? Like, I think if Trey McBride had that, Trey McBride's probably playing against Washington, right? So this is good news. I would consider that very positive. Even if it's an absence, it's likely only going to be a week. But I would say that it's trending in the direction of him playing now, which is good. Now, we got to wait and see the injury report this week. And certainly when Gannon meets with the media, when is that, on Friday? Is he still sticking at it? Or is he doing Saturday?
He'll talk Thursday and he'll talk Saturday.
Yeah.
So we'll hear from the head coach twice, 2 times between now and Monday.
So we'll have our answer on Saturday.
And we'll have 3 open practices, at least 20 minutes worth in each and every the next 3 days to see if Marv is out there in any capacity. Max Melton went through concussion protocol earlier this season. He was practicing, I believe, on Thursday in a non-contact jersey. Now, Trey McBride had a completely different process, so we'll just see where they believe Marv is. And practice is key. I mean, that's the other part of this. Is like it's exciting to have your big time draft pick, your top draft pick, going to be available to you when you're going to be playing on prime time. And I'll kind of wink at that one because they're going to be sharing that prime time with another game.
Yikes.
But look, the other part of this is, like, if you get Marvin Harrison back, are you going to be able to get him involved, something you haven't been able to do or that you've struggled to do consistently throughout the season?
Yeah, I think at this point, if he's out there and he's practicing to some degree, it's up to Drew Petzing to figure it out. Because I'm not sure the Cardinals can beat the Chargers without Marvin Harrison Jr. And we're going to talk about it throughout the course of the week. I tweeted this out today. The Chargers, to me, are the very best version of what the Cardinals want to be, and they're just much more effective at doing it right now, where the Cardinals, on paper, have an advantage. They have an elite tight end. They have a big play wide receiver in Marv, who is underutilized. They have Michael Wilson, who's more established than any receiver the Chargers have. Like, that's how you have to beat the Chargers. I was at the Fiesta Bowl a couple years ago. It's not apples to oranges, but I use this example because I think it's timely. TCU beat Michigan in that game. Michigan had the better line of scrimmage play, but TCU had Quentin Johnson, coincidentally now plays for the Chargers. That game, he went for about over 200 yards that game. And that really puts them in a tough position where they can't lean on their run and play ball control. And I do think Kyler Murray stretching the field against the Chargers is the key to beat them. You have to have big plays.
I don't know what you're saying here. So is Quentin Johnson going to have a big game for the Chargers
against
the Cardinals? Or Marv is going to play the role of Quentin Johnson?
Correct. Yes. Yeah, come on. Follow me now. Quentin Johnson for TCU had over 200 yards in the Fiesta Bowl, and Harbaugh runs the Chargers the same way he ran Michigan. So we need Marv to have a Quentin Johnston TCU-esque game against the Chargers.
What have we?
That's disgusting.
This is a new low. This is a new low for this podcast.
Some would say it's the best this podcast has ever looked.
We haven't stooped this far into the basement on this show before, and we've gone.
Go look up Quentin Johnston's Fiesta Bowl against Michigan.
No, I know.
It was elite.
It was a track meet for Quentin Johnson out there. No doubt about it. Catching passes from Max Duggan.
Yeah.
I watched him in person that season as well in Austin. It was a good game. He had a great game in that one as well. He was money all season.
Whose money is our guy, Brian Baldinger. He is right around the corner here on PHNX Cardinals. What are you laughing at?
Just Ozzie, Quentin Johnson, gross.
Hey, you're gonna. It's not gonna be gross when it is gonna be gross when he's burning Sean Murphy Bunty on Monday Night Football. Don't get burned by overpriced gas and convenience store goodies. Check out our friends at Circle K. It's America's thirst stop, friends. Join the Inner Circle. It's a free new membership program. So easy to download. Find it right now. Get the app. The Inner Circle app, by the way, the Circle K app with Inner Circle offers.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now, you go to the offer page, it's like a dictionary. It is so long. They have so many deals on deals. And my favorite, of course, even though the temperature's starting to drop a little bit, 79-cent Polar Pops or Frosters. This was a deal that they originally did over the course of the summer. And they're like, this is such a big hit. People love it. We're just going to make it indefinite right now.
Yeah.
There's no end in sight. I just want to drown myself in Polar Pops at 79 cents with my friends at Circle K. Join their Circle friends for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply. At participating locations, visit CircleK.com for more details, Bo.
Oh, man. Elite Circle K. Got a notification on the being a part of the Inner Circle. Chex Mix and a Polar Pop.
Oh, my God.
For, I think, like $1.50. That's the kind of deals that's going on. I save 5 cents at the pump as well.
You're a smart guy.
And when I'm cruising around in my truck, I'm, of course, keeping my eyes protected with the premium polarized sunglasses from our friends over at Shady Rays. That's right. Get ready for the fall season and venturing outside and your beautiful premium polarized shades that are getting 5-star rated by over 300,000 people. Not just a sample size. It's not just like, a couple friends say, hey, I like these sunglasses. It's 300,000 large saying these are legit and they are the perfect choice for all your outdoor adventures. Checking them out right now. Something for everyone, men, women, children. It's all there. ShadyRays.com. If you don't love your shades, exchange for a new pair. Return worry-free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. They're always the team to back you up with the personal and fast support. Exclusively for our listeners right now, save money, even more money on shades that are price point well below $100. They're giving out the best deal of the fall season. Head to ShadyRays.com. Use the code PHNX for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by 300,000 people. Shady Rays, ShadyRays.com with the promo code PHNX.
And we got a big update for anybody in the area. Your boys heading to South Beach in just a couple of days, October 25th through the 28th. Now, we got some special deals going on. We were talking to some peeps behind the scenes here. We've got our crew set that's coming with us. But then if you're in the Miami area, if you're going to the game, we've got an all-inclusive tailgate that we want to invite all of you at. All you can drink, all you can eat. The vibes are immaculate. The weather's supposed to be fantastic. Cardinals hopefully looking to get that dub. Come get a dub with us with our friends at True Fan Travel, the all-inclusive tailgate right now. I think it's what, like $125, $150?
Yeah, and look, it's open bar. It's all you can eat. We're losing money on this thing. It is an incredible deal. We've had several people reach out when we announced that we were going to road trip to Miami. And they said, look, obviously I'm going to be in town. I'm not going to buy the entire package, but how do I get to the tailgate? How can I get to the game? This is your way in. Check it out. Check out all full details with us. You can find it at the event page, gophnx.com or truefantravel.com. Always love to get our guy Baldy on the show. Now it's been, 2 or 3 weeks under bad circumstances, bad performances from the Arizona Cardinals. But Brian Baldinger, NFL Network, of course, our All-City NFL analyst. Baldy, how we doing, my man?
I'm good, guys. Look, I mean, I didn't take that whipping and that beating that the Cardinals did up in Green Bay, but it was a tough one. That was a tough one to watch if you're an analyst because it looked to me as probably every bit as bad as it probably looked to the team and to the fans.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit off air, Baldy. Like, how do you contextualize what is maybe personnel, what is scheme, what is maybe a troubling sign? I know they beat San Francisco 2 weeks ago, but now you've got 2 blowouts in a matter of a month against Washington and now Green Bay. And, the schedule didn't get any easier. You got Chargers, a very physical team on Monday Night Football. Like, how do you assess this team 6 weeks in? Because I think where we saw a lot of promise with JG and the Arizona Cardinals last year is, we'll put wins aside. They competed. They didn't make mistakes. They made the most of their talent. Now a little bit of expectations now. It almost feels like they're either taking a step back or certainly they're kind of in a status quo.
Well, I mean, you could definitely throw the talent situation out there. I mean, they could generate no pass rush on Jordan Love. He had all day back there to make whatever read he wanted to make. I mean, unless they had, a blitz and they had a couple. I mean, he still threw touchdown passes to Romeo Dobbs, when they came after him. He was still able to elude it and still make a good throw. So I thought pass rush was a big problem. They, for whatever reason, there were some reasons, but they had been able to run the ball pretty good in most games, and they weren't able to. They tried all three backs, DeMarcado, Benson. He started the second half. James Conner, like they could generate nothing on the ground. They've been pretty good at that when they've gotten into games. And so, look, you fall behind 24-0. With 5 minutes to go in the second quarter, you're probably going to abandon the run, and then you lose Marvin Harrison. So I'm making excuses here, but they fell behind 24-0. They did nothing to slow down and stop Green Bay's offense. And so the week before, they did a pretty good job of slowing down and stopping San Francisco. They weren't able to do that. They got out of their game plan because of it. I give them credit. They took it 24-0 and scored a touchdown and got a fumble and field goal and started the third quarter with the field goal, and they got back in the game, and then Green Bay took control of the game.
Darius Robinson, 27th overall pick, started the season on IR, and it's trending towards coming back at some point, but you haven't gotten any snaps from him, a first-round pick. Your two premium free agents that you signed, and Bilal Nichols and Justin Jones, both lost for the season, and then pass rusher B.J. Ojulari goes down in training camp. Four key pieces that you had expectations for on your defensive front seven, not making excuses as far as injuries, but what do you see as a path forward to playing better football up front on the defensive side?
Well, I think they're going to have to, look, they're going to play a very physical team against the Chargers. They play Scott Matlock as, the Baltimore's version of Patrick Ricard. They want to run it. J.K. Dobbins had a good game last week, and they want to control it. But, if you let Justin Herbert do what Jordan Love did last week, he'll find Ladd McConkey. He'll find all these guys, every good quarterback. And Herbert's as talented as any of them. If you give him time the way the Cardinals gave Jordan Love time, then he's going to probably put up a pretty good number. Now, Harbaugh won't be as pass happy as Matt LaFleur was or can be. It's just not his style. But yet he's going to do everything he can to game plan to win the game. Kamani, Vidal, like whoever's there, like they're going to throw the passes to the young kids that are out there. The two rookies right now, two young guys. So they don't care who they throw to. If you get time, Justin Herbert's going to find him right now.
Well, the Cards' passing game is not where they admittedly want it to be, and everything looks difficult, I think, is how I can put it. And that's, I think, on the shoulders of Drew Petzing, certainly on Kyler Murray. He's on pace for his lowest through the yardage in his NFL career dating back to 2019. And I think based on what we've seen the last 2 weeks, the only thing that's consistently working, save for Michael Wilson, is Trey McBride. Am I wrong to say, like, until this gets figured out, can this offense run through a tight end, in your opinion, in today's NFL? Can they go down underneath to big number 85? Because right now, Kyler Murray 8 for 8 against the Packers going to Trey.
That was a strong point of the offense, period. It's not enough. It's not enough because, you can, if I was drawing up a defense and Trey McBride was at the end of the line of scrimmage, I wouldn't let him off the line of scrimmage. That'd be one way I would combat that. I wouldn't let him get into his route. You saw, Jair Alexander just quick jab Marvin Harrison out there on a third down and, to completely disrupted the timing of the throw and then defended the pass and, they're punting. And, unfortunately, it was the play I think Marvin got hurt on. But, you could take guys out, like just the way Jair, just jabbed Marvin. That's what I would do to McBride. Now, they move him around. You have to move him around to try to free him up right now. But they need more than, Greg Dortch has been a nice player, but, they need more options right now to go to for Kyler. And Kyler's he's got to throw the ball better when those throws are there right now. But, it does hurt that I'm sure they had a big chunk in there for Marvin in the game plan. You lose him on the 8th play of the game. You lose them. I know you have to adjust, but you might have worked on some things all week that you thought you had an advantage of, and all of a sudden that's all gone.
Yeah, you talk about Marvin going out, I think, 8, 11 plays, whatever it was with the concussion, and he's in the protocol, but it looked just as herky-jerky as it did the previous game where he had just 2 catches, albeit one big one on 4th down. We're sitting here through 6 weeks. What's your evaluation? What's maybe your solution to getting the 4th overall pick more involved in this game plan?
Well, it's bizarre how they're using them. I feel like I'm watching a Big 12 offense. Now, I'm not ridiculing the Big 12, but, Kyler came out of that offense. And honestly, it looks to me like Marvin runs stops and goes. That's what it looks like. I haven't seen like the whole route tree where he's running deep overs and he's running pivot routes and they're putting him in the slot. And, I just don't see a great use of him right now. And what it does is it makes him look kind of stiff. And the other thing is when he's not the primary, he doesn't look like he's that interested. I'm not saying he's not playing hard or anything like that. When he's not the primary receiver, he doesn't look like a threat. And so there's just something off, not necessarily about him, but the way that they're using him. And I don't know, you're going to get basically in this league, you're going to get basically cover 2 or man coverage or some version. Even cover 3 is basically man coverage. I like to see him go out there and attack corners and see if he can win. And if he needs a little help on some rub routes or switch routes and things like that, then dial those up. But I like to see him not just more involved, but I like to see just from a body standpoint, I want to see him be a bigger threat, even on anything. I don't care what it is. I watched Drake London the other day. He looks like he's a threat, whether he's blocking, whether he's running a clearing route, whatever. He always looks like a threat to me. And they're roughly the same size. They both have, but one looks way more involved in the game. And Drake is getting the ball a whole lot more too. That helps. He's got 38 catches, so they feed him a bunch. But that's why I thought they were going to use Marvin. I thought it was going to be like Atlanta's version of Drake London in Arizona, and I just haven't seen that.
Yeah, we actually charted, Baldy, the 23 games under Drew Petzing. He's got 100-yard wide receiver performance, and it was Marv in week 2. So it's an offensive philosophy right now that they need to tweak. I mean, they've made too big of an investment on Marv to not make this work, because we've argued, if this is really how you want a team build, and Baldy, we talked to you throughout the draft process, maybe you should have taken Joe Alt. If you're so stingent on running the football and working off of play action, and maybe you don't want to empower receivers necessarily, or these kind of receivers, I mean, should they have doubled down, traded down, and taken a tackle? Because right now, 6 games in, it feels like they have this brand new sports car. They don't know how to drive it.
I agree. I actually agree with that. And if you had Paris and Joe right now on the edges, Kyler would probably feel a whole lot better dropping back because the interior is pretty good. So I kind of agree with that. I do also think this. Look, you're trying to grow a fan base in Arizona. Running the ball with James Conner it's good. I mean, it helps you win some games. He's a good player. He's a great person. But honestly, you got to be entertained. This is the entertainment business. The ball's I did announce the Baltimore-Cincinnati game the other day. You could question the defenses on both sides, but that was the most entertaining football game I've seen in a long time. Everybody that was in that stadium was on their feet the entire game. There is some entertainment purpose to this whole thing. And Harbaugh fights this in Los Angeles too. They're trying to grow a fan base, and he's out there, with a 315-pound, fullback and, running the ball and, kicking field goals and all that stuff. All right. Well, LA is, Showtime was popular for a reason. It entertained every basketball fan in the world. You want a fan base, you want to grow it. You got to put an exciting product out there on the field. And there's some offenses out there that are really exciting to watch, and Washington is one of them. And I think that actually makes a difference in this business right now.
Yeah, isn't that, been around forever? The constant battle is the coaches always just want to make it about football and the game. And then obviously there's the ownership and the fan base that it's an entertainment business. So it is an interesting battle that continues to wage on. We'll get you out on this. As far as this 12-person draft class, we've talked about Marv. We haven't seen Darius. Has anybody stood out to you? I mean, that's when you're sitting at 2 and 4, you're looking for guys that you can move forward with. Has anybody from this 24 draft class stood out to you in the 6 games?
Well, I mean, Trey Benson got a chance a little bit. I mean, I haven't seen much from him, but we've seen a couple runs. I mean, I don't know the pecking order there exactly, but I thought based on what he did in preseason, I thought he would get more. But sometimes if you're down 24-0, you're not going to run it very much. It really hasn't. Tip Ryman, who's a blocking tight end, he's out there a little bit. When he's active, hadn't really seen much outside. Much production so far from this group.
Yeah, and that's the tough spot, Baldy. You got a team that's 2 and 4 and not winning football games necessarily, and then we can't speak on a rookie class that had 7 picks in the top 90. Are you rebuilding? Are you pushing for the playoffs? What are you doing? We know what we're doing. We're locked in every single week with our guy, All-City NFL analyst, Brian Baldinger. Baldy, you were en route for a NFC, Super Bowl rematch this week?
Super Bowl rematch out there in San Francisco. Kansas City coming off a bye, undefeated. San Francisco needs the game. I mean, obviously, they lost to you a couple weeks ago and rebounded, but they need this game. They can't fall to 3 and 4 right now and still think like they're contenders. This is a big statement game for San Francisco.
Looking forward to it. Mahomes, Purdy, rematch of last year's Super Bowl. It's twice been the Super Bowl. Baldy's going to have all the insight, of course. Check him out, NFL Network. Follow him on Twitter at Baldy NFL. Thanks, Baldy.
Okay. Thanks, guys. You bet. I'll talk to you next week.
Brian Baldinger, money as always. Speaking of money, how about take care of yours with our friends at Desert Financial Credit Union, the official credit union of PHNX Sports, the Arizona Cardinals, and the Venerable household. That's because for more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit unit. And it's not just a transaction, friends. It's not just an ATM, which they have many. Check out, they've got savings accounts, mortgages, credit cards, investment options, and more. And again, it's my one-stop shop for everything I need to upgrade my financial acumen. You can do the same. It's the only place really to show your team spirit every time you make a purchase with the exclusive debit cards branded with, how about this, the Arizona Cardinals? Represent the Red Sea with the Arizona Cardinal Visa debit card. Check them out online. Go to desertfinancial.com/Cardinals right now to open up a free checking account. Takes a matter of minutes. Debit cards in the mail a couple days after the fact. Again, Desert Financial, upgrade your financial acumen today.
That's right. And when you're on the road, like we're going to be next week in Miami, you don't have any issues when you're on the road with your Desert Financial Credit Union debit card. Also, I'm loading up for that trip with some Z-Biotics.
Woo!
I cannot afford to be down and out the day after a fun night on the town, and Z-Biotics is going to make sure of it. I've loaded up. I got Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic, and it's invented by PhD scientists, wicked smart guys and gals out there that are going to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into toxic byproduct in the gut. Johnny, you knew this. It's the byproduct, not the dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Z-Biotics is going to help fix that for you. Check it out right now and save money while doing so. Kept hearing about the pre-alcohol, wonder what it was actually like. It's legit. It's coming with me to South Beach, and it's going to be my secret little weapon there. Their GMO technology. It's going to release different products that help address toxic byproducts in modern living in the gut. Go to zbiotics.com/PHNX cards, and you can find out what Z-Biotics is all about and learn with 15% off your first order. Use PHNX cards at checkout. Z-Biotics backed 100% money back guaranteed. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked. zbiotics.com/PHNX cards.
So much good stuff from our guy, Baldy. Anything that stood out to you? I thought the stuff on MHJ, I mean, like we've checked all the boxes. We've talked to Mina Kime. We've got Brian Baldinger. We've got experts, analysts. Everybody's got kind of the same common denominator where it's like, yeah, Marv's got some stuff he's got to work on, but the usage is a problem for the number 4th overall pick.
Well, I mean, it was immediately after your question about Trey McBride, And do they need to make Trey McBride the vocal point in this passing attack? And essentially he said, like, he's the only trustworthy guy right now.
Yeah.
And then somebody needs to step up and, with the, the clarity or lack thereof as far as Marv's availability, is it going to be Michael Wilson? Is it going to be Greg Dortch? Like, who can be the second option in the passing attack? And I think that's key. It's got to be Marv. Like at this stage in the season, it's time to start getting this thing on track. From a play calling standpoint, from the rapport between the quarterback and the wide receiver, like all this needs to be ironed out by now. Like it needed to be ironed out weeks ago. Like after they got on the same page for 4 catches for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Rams, like there shouldn't have been any looking back from there. But the reality of the NFL is it's a tough league and defenses adjust, and Cardinals need to readjust back and play that game of chess. But they need to get Marvin Harrison Jr. involved, and they need to find a way to consistently hit on Kyler Murray to Marvin Harrison Jr. Just passing catch options.
Yeah, it's a sad reality right now. Speaking of sad, I want to get to the saddest comment in the chat today. Mike Mayers in the chat. Can we get this if you go down just a little bit, Damon? Mike Mayer saying, saw another Cards fan here in Albuquerque at Target today. We made eye contact, both shrugged and said, guess we'll see on Monday. Laugh out loud. If that's not an indictment of this season thus far, it's like, hey, somebody rocking some Cards gear. Yeah. Just give him one of those faces, my guy. Good to see you in the chat. Yeah. Everybody drop a like on this video. Shooting for 350 likes here on a football Wednesday. And speaking of Wednesday, we do it every Wednesday, much to my chagrin, via our friends at Bet365. It is hold or fold the line where Bo, Damon, and I go through some sloppy, gross outings ahead of the weekend slate. Some of us do well, and if you're me, some of us are 0 for on the season. I'm 0 for 6 with my predictions here. Now, full transparency, I have always took plus money. I am trying to hit and failing dramatically at finding significant dogs for you to bet on. I'm back at I'm just going to keep swinging. I'm going to go down swinging. There's no point in me coming up here and saying that I'm going to quit. I'm not a quitter, and I will forge ahead. But Bo is showing a little bit of life, and Damon, of course, is in the most plus money right now.
Congratulations, Damon. You're quite a bit of a heater.
I think I've hit 4 in a row.
Love it. You are the anti-Johnny. And, like, if you guys haven't figured it out now, like, the roadmap is clear. What Johnny picks, you pick the opposite. Right?
If you combine, listen, I predicted the Cardinals to lose last Friday, but I was bullied by the chat to do that. If it was, I'm being 100% sincere. If it was up to me, I would have picked the Cardinals to win. So theoretically, I should be 0-12 on the year with a combination of our game predictions and hold or fold the line. So with that being said, I'd love to jump into this week's lines with our friends at Bet365. Again, download the Bet365 app, bonus code PHNX365. I want to start because I do feel like even Damon gave me some love off camera. Patriots plus 205. Now, Drake May's getting an MRI on his knee. That's not good. Drake May bust. But the Jacksonville Jaguars are such an egregious franchise right now. They basically quit last week against the Bears team that I think MP are huge frauds and will be exposed. The New England Patriots are not a great team. But I think they're well coached. I think they play maybe some solid defense at times. I think that they can feast off of Trevor Lawrence. And Drake May did have 3 passing touchdowns. This is a soft matchup for him. So I hope that he plays. Plus 205. There are some worse lines and some worse opponents, I should say, that are below 205. So with that being said, if I'm going to dig myself out of this hole, it's going to be hitting on a game like this.
With Drake May getting an MRI, and this being it's another international game, right? It's
in London.
It's a 6:30 kickoff.
I'll be watching.
I mean, it's the Jags are London's team, aren't they? Unfortunately,
like reluctantly,
right?
They have to claim them.
I can't in good conscience hold with you really on anything, just based off your track record.
I was looking at an article last week, and I think the Patriots are more popular than the Jags. More people say the Patriots are their favorite team in London, but yeah, the Jags are the de facto London team.
The Patriots,
the Jags
patriotic
are
for the United States, and London's chip chip cheerio, that's our squad. I don't know.
Yeah, can we get Owen in here? That was an egregious British accent. That was horrific.
Sorry, my
chip chip here cheerio.
Look, I didn't go I didn't sell it.
Oh,
right?
bollocks.
But I'm out on that.
That is pretty
I'm
funny.
out on. If I hadn't decided before, I'm fully out now, and I'm not going to hold with you. I'm not going to bet the Patriots. I don't think there's a single game on their entire schedule that I would take the Patriots, and I'm not going to start now.
You're rolling with the Jacksonville Jaguars, which I think may be the biggest league embarrassment.
And I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that.
Okay.
But offensively, they still have enough. Like Trevor Lawrence is proving to be just a more expensive version of Danny Dimes. Like I agree with that,
That's
but I still would probably take Danny Dimes over this Patriots team.
Damon, how do you feel about holding with me yet another? You both held with me last week, by the way.
I just love the value on plus 200 or better on fading the Jaguars.
Yeah.
Like the Jaguars have proven nothing that they can't beat anybody this year.
Couldn't you see the Patriots winning on like a couple like defensive touchdowns and some special team snafus by the Jags?
For
I
sure.
could see that.
But need Drake May in the lineup. If
Yeah,
Drake May's out, that
What are we doing here?
becomes a terrible, terrible pick.
Drake May
Jags
needed
are 1-5.
MRI.
Let's just they lost that game to the Dolphins. They just lost that game to the Dolphins.
They handed it.
They lost to the Browns.
You're not holding with me plus 205? Come
No,
on.
I'm out.
He's out.
Drake May, I think he put up the most points the Patriots have put up in a football game all season last week against a pretty good Texans defense. I mean,
Yeah, I'm just being sincere. I think most of that was complete garbage time.
Yeah.
Drake May is the garbage man.
Well, it was 14-0, and he hit on his first career touchdown, and I think
Drake May with 3 passing touchdowns, all of which came while the team was down 28 points.
he threw 2 picks too, didn't he?
I think we're gonna get gross. 6:30 a.m. out of London. I think everybody's gonna be
Waking up for that game?
Oh, 100%. I already said I'm gonna be cashing a plus 205 with my friends at Bet365. All right, so let's keep this party moving. Bo, you're up next this week. It pains me because I actually like your bet this week. I didn't want to use it for myself because that Patriots line was so gross. But let's take a look at what Bo's got going on. Steelers money line against the huge fraud Jets. Like I'm selling all the Jets stock possible. So give us your rationale here.
Well, this was actually the Steelers team that was favored in this game before the Davante Adams trade,
Which is wild.
and it swayed it, I think, 3 points.
That's unbelievable.
Davante Adams coming off. Well, I mean, I know that the hamstring thing was not legit, but he wasn't playing in Vegas. He should be at full health, but he's got to get back on the same page with a quarterback he hasn't played with in 3 seasons.
Yeah.
And they're going to be favored. The 4-2 Steelers taking on the Jets. I just don't. This seems like it's easy. There's just some lines sometimes that stick out to you, and it's the wrong team that's favored. And this is the case with the New York Jets. Like they haven't done anything. I mean, I know they had a close loss to the Bills last week, but at 2-4 and going into Pittsburgh with the second best defense in the league, giving up as far as least yardage as well. I think they're in the top 10 as well there. It just ain't happening. So this is easy for me. No matter who's at quarterback for the Steelers, they're going to get the job done. And then, Damon, you were pointing out to me, like, as far as the Steelers and Tomlin and him going into this, as far as a home dog.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin's home record as an underdog against the spread is 16-7-2 for a 68% win percentage.
I think the Jets somehow feel like they're winning headlines, thus it's going to translate to winning games. They had all people want to talk about was the Hail Mary in a game that they lost. Like that, it's kind of like historically like very Cardinal-esque. It's like, yeah, we're going to make some moves through Monday through Friday, and that's going to constitute toward our record. Number one, I've watched Davante Adams the last 2 years. He looks washed to me. Maybe he plays well. Aaron Rodgers looks washed. He has not played a defense of the caliber of Pittsburgh yet, and he looked bad against Buffalo's defense, which is fine. There is zero chance. I am ready to put all of my monies on the Pittsburgh Steelers this weekend. Like they're doing this thing with Russ where they're leaking out he may start just to mess with the Jets. They're going to start Justin Fields, in my opinion. They're going to ram him as a running back. They should. And I think they beat the Jets by double digits. I don't think this game's close. I think Aaron throws multiple interceptions. This Jets team is the easiest fraud to pick out of a lineup.
I don't think headlines have ever translated to wins.
Never.
Especially not for the New York Jets.
They fired
make
their
headlines
coach
every single day of the week. I mean, I don't think Davante Adams should be worth like 4 points or whatever you said it was, but
He can't separate anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I'm holding with Bo. This was a pick I was thinking about taking, and I think the Steelers at plus money is disrespectful.
All right, Damon. I knew your original pick, which bothers me because
do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, Damon initially had in the rundown Danny Dimes and the New York Giants, which I wholeheartedly would have approved because I've ridden with him multiple times this year. It has burned me.
I wanted to fade that fraud Sirianni so bad.
Yeah,
that was where I was at.
Johnny's got a toxic relationship with Danny Dimes. He just keeps going back. I don't know what it is.
Can I pick two teams this week? I almost want to pick the Patriots and the Giants this week. I almost want to couple that together. But Damon, you go ahead. What you ended up settling on?
Did you think about the Giants for a second after you saw that line?
He's always thinking about the Giants.
The line. True. I'm gonna tell you right now, the line wasn't big enough. What is it? Almost like a pick 'em?
Plus like 145.
Yeah, I mean it's.
They have a good defense. Eagles playing really bad.
But yeah, I think the Giants win that game outright.
I was thinking about the Giants. Decided with maybe a little bit safer pick. I don't know. It depends on how you feel. But I'm going Lions money line plus 105 against the Vikings. My logic is pretty simple. The Vikings cannot keep winning every football game. There's no way. Bo and I looked into it last season. I believe the Lions won both games against the Vikings last season. I was a little scared because there has been somewhat of a narrative that Brian Flores kind of owns Jared Goff. In that Super Bowl, for example, Patriots-Rams, the Rams were horrible on offense. Brian Flores was calling defensive plays. But I don't know. I think the Lions, they end this Vikings streak. They kind of, plant their flag in the NFC North division, and that's what I'm going with.
I love it. I think anytime you can get a team like the Lions as a dog, I think you bet it. And you're right. Like, I know I've lost a lot of money just based off do factor, but I'm with you. I'll get right back on that bandwagon. And the Vikings are due for a bad performance. And I think that the Lions, like, we didn't see them play their best ball here a couple weeks ago, but they're playing really good football right now.
Yeah, like that offensive performance was a masterclass, and I know it was against big-time fraud Dallas and Mike Zimmer defensively, but this is a different caliber of team that the Vikings have seen thus far this season. Like, I think the Vikings have had a nice start to the year. Obviously, they're undefeated, but, I mean, tell me the teams that they've beaten are, like, in the upper echelon of the NFL right now. I think Niners are overrated. I still think the Packers aren't that great. The Cardinals were just exposed last week. Like, Detroit is, in my opinion, the class of the NFC. Anytime you get a plus number, I know Aiden Hutchinson going down is rough, but their offense is so, like, smotheringly good. And that's what's bizarre about the Cardinals competing with them in the second half. I don't think Minnesota has the horses. I also think Sam Darnold, we saw close to him having a complete mental breakdown the last game. Like, he wanted to give that game away. I think we get vintage trash Sam Darnold in tune of, like, multiple interceptions, maybe even one for a touchdown. I'm with you. I'm holding with everybody this week.
Wow.
Fading Sam Darnold, I think, was my only loss this season, though. I picked Sam Darnold to throw a pick in week 2, and he didn't.
They lost Aaron Jones, too, so, like, they're not 100% unscathed thus far.
It just seems insane to me that the Lions can win by 40 points and then be an underdog the next week.
Well, and they hung 60 points combined on the Vikings last year. Now the Vikings were playing Nick Mullins at quarterback back then. But, I mean, he's not the one on the defensive side of the football. I mean, that's – yeah, I hear the Goff thing, and I think there was maybe like 2 or 3 performances post Super Bowl, or including the Super Bowl. But that is a long time ago. Jared Goff's come a long way. You got to give a little credit to Goff.
Ty Chandler is going to run the ball for them this week.
And Cam Akers, right?
Yikes! Big yikes! All right, well, I'm getting a lot of heat in the chat, and
deservedly so.
Yeah, before we get to some more super chats here, we are going to get to them right around the corner on PHNX Cardinals. But first, let me tell you about one of our newest partners. I'm so fired up about this because this is a product, a service I've used in my personal life with my family. It's made a huge difference in the way we eat and really just consume healthy and nutritious meals on a regular basis. It's our newest partner, HelloFresh. They've got farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasoned recipes delivered right to your doorstep. I've been using them for years on and off. They are one of my favorites to use. They've got just a variety of stuff. And it's super easy to make. Like, I've got kids. I know you've got kids. At the end of the day, you want to be able to do something seamlessly where you can make good food for your family and it not take up, hours on end. I'm telling you right now, they put an actual cooking time from start to finish on how long it's going to take for anywhere between like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 45 minutes, and you can get fancy, but you can also get fresh and ready to go with our friends at HelloFresh. Again, I can't recommend them enough. They always have like elite deals going on right now, but how about this one? Get 10 free meals, not 1, not 5, 10 free meals at HelloFresh.com using the bonus code PHNX Cardinals right now, applied across 7 boxes. New subscribers right now, 10 free meals with the bonus code PHNX, or excuse me, it's free Cardinals for PHNX Cardinals. So it's free, no spaces. Cardinals is one you want to do right now. Go to HelloFresh.com to get the very latest. You're going to get 10 free meals. You cannot beat it. And again, it's not 10 free meals for, meat and veggies. It's not 10 free meals for family friend. It's whatever you want. Customize it, make it your own. Check them out, HelloFresh.com. I would encourage everybody, download the HelloFresh app as well. Keep tracks of your order. It is an unbeatable service. I'm so glad they're a new partner, is HelloFresh.
Let's talk about a partner that we've been locked up with for now a couple seasons. Gila River Resorts and Casinos. We've seen Ryan out there. Jess in the chat as well has hung out with us over at Wild Horse Pass. We are having a blast. Except for, of course, the results of the game we were watching with the Cardinals on TV. But Gila River Resorts and Casinos, nobody does it better, of course. They got 4,500 slots, live table games. You can catch all the action at the sports books that they have there. Great food all over the resorts. Of course, they've got so many different options for entertainment, your unprecedented level of entertainment and excitement you won't find anywhere else in the desert. And it's not just the desert here to Arizona. It's including Las Vegas up in Nevada, which is part of the desert as well. It is where you want to go hang out. We're hosting events there all year long, including Cards and Sons watch parties and more. Stay tuned, and of course, for more info and how you come hang out with the entire PHNX crew for all these great events. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playGila.com for more details.
Super chats, we got a ton. We need your likes on this PHNX Cardinals Wednesday edition. Damon, Dawg, let's jump in. Super chats aplenty here. Kicking off with our guy Charlie.
Hey, he's a resident Chargers fan. Were you calling on Damon to read these? Is that what you wanted?
Yeah, go ahead, Damon, Dawg.
Yeah, sure. What's up, Charlie? He sends in 199, says, Monty gonna go full Kime and draft a linebacker.
Don't say that, Charlie. Come on, man. We like you, man.
How
Don't
dare
say
you.
that stuff.
If the season couldn't get bad enough, you put that evil on us.
PR Mac, $2. Who is game planning against this front seven?
My 9-year-old. It's called up the middle. It's called dive. It's called belly. It's called toss. They've got 2 of the best tackle combinations. We talked about Joel, but then they've got the kid out of, what's his name? He came back last week. He's exceptional. I want to say Slater.
Oh, out of BC?
Yeah, he's fantastic. They have 2 bookend tackles. They're going to make life very difficult on the Cardinals front seven. I would recommend Drew Petzing, Nick Rallis blitz this week against Justin Herbert.
Eric Lambert, $2. Hold the line for sweet baby Scattaboo.
We're going to have a whole offseason to talk about that young man. We got a picture of him right behind me here. And he's destined to be an Arizona Cardinal. That's about it.
I mean, we started with some draft. Do you want to talk about maybe projecting Cam to stay in the desert and about, it's everybody's going to just a 6th or 7th round flyer to keep the hometown kid in town, right?
Then I had somebody tell me recently that he was going to be like a day 2 pick. I don't know if I would venture to say that. Although
that seems insane to me.
If I ask the ASU crew, they're going to be like, well, he'll be a first rounder.
Yeah.
They think he's going to New York for the Heisman ceremony.
Oh my God. Come on, guys. Let's have realistic.
Just enjoy the season, guys.
I would say I would use a 5th round pick or better on Scattaboo right now.
But when we are in round 5, round 6, round 7 in our mock drafts, get ready to talk.
Oh, we're pounding the table.
Get ready to talk it.
We're going to draft a blocking tight end, but we want Cam Scattaboo.
It's just going to be like, oh, we're in the 6th round, and then it's just going to come on up.
Like,
who should we take?
Jonathan Gannon would love it. It would be one of Jonathan Gannon's favorite players on the team immediately. I saw this highlight, by the way. I don't want to get too in the weeds with this. He caught an onside kick. Have you seen this highlight? At where he was previously.
Sac State, yeah.
And he returned it for a touchdown and carried like 6 people. He literally caught it like a line drive and ran it 60 yards.
I think as a freshman, they must have known in that moment, okay, yeah, he's way too good for this.
He's got like the Chuck Norris facts.
It does.
Kind of like lore going on.
He caught that overhead catch to really kind of seal the game against Utah. He didn't have any gloves on. He doesn't wear gloves.
No, he wouldn't wear gloves.
I mean, it's
just a little dirt.
You talk about a man's man.
Yeah.
Loso, $2. It's not just the roster; it's mostly Petzing.
I would say
the struggles.
Yeah, agreed. I think big week for Drew.
Z Warlock 505, $5. This defensive line has been a problem for 5 years. Monty hasn't done enough to fix it.
You know, and it makes things worse. And I know you don't necessarily agree with this, but like Zach Allen's having a career year this year, and the Cardinals, depending on who you talk to, tried to get him to come back. He wasn't open to it, or the Cardinals didn't offer enough money. Like, that's tough. When there was a piece in-house that was kind of performing, if you're going to let a Zach Allen go, where's the replacement? The Cardinals basically like, yeah, we'll let you go. And then they didn't do anything to fix it. So that's a problem.
Charlie Sinclair back in it. Drew Petzing versus Jesse Mentor should be interesting. Petzing just needs to be better in general. It doesn't matter who he's trying to match wits with. Sholo, man, 199 Chargers top 4 CBs all didn't practice today.
Woo!
You take the wins when you can get them.
We don't root for injuries around here.
They still got a long way to go. I mean, couple practices between now and Monday remain, and I mean, we looked at that just awful Washington secondary, and they weren't able to do anything against it. So
I could have been playing secondary for the Washington Commanders that day. It wouldn't have mattered.
Charlie back, Baldy, name dropping, Lambeau Lad, Johnny's worst nightmare.
It's gross. And if we have Monday Night Football and it's not Marv, but Lambeau Lad scoring touchdowns at State Farm Stadium, I won't be able to continue on with the show.
You'll leave?
Yeah.
Indefinitely?
I'm just going to do one of these, do the Seinfeld, just get up and walk out of our studio here. I'm going to read this one. Big crack in the back, butt crack. $5 super chat. Great teams have a historic tight end. Absolutely, you can run through Gronk, Brady, Mahomes, Kelsey, Breeze, Graham, Rivers, Gates, Manning, Clark. I agree with that. However, those quarterbacks are in a different category right now than Kyler Murray. But I do think like Trey McBride can be your best receiver.
Yeah.
If you're getting high-end number 2 play from a Marv. Like, that's okay. If Trey McBride is going to be the best, most reliable target the rest of the year, that's fine. But you can't then get nothing behind him.
Right. You need secondary, third options for this passing offense. And there's too good of players in that locker room not to get it.
I've often thought that tight end thing, I've thought about that a lot. Like, think about the teams that have been good contenders in the last few years. The Ravens. I mean, Mark Andrews has fallen off this year, but he's been pretty good.
When they won the Super Bowl in 2017.
Absolutely. And then it seems like that translates to wins frequently, having an elite level tight end.
It's all about mismatches in this league.
The Raiders certainly think so with Brock Bowers as their only remaining good player on offense. Ben, the Cardinals fan. Chip, chip, cheerio. Johnny picked the Chargers, Bo.
Wow, you grilled me for my English accent, and that's what you had to
Let's have some tea and trumpets here on PHNX Cardinals.
That might be the worst English accent I've ever heard.
I was gonna
say
that's
really the best you have.
I was gonna say put another shrimp on the barbie, but that's
that would have been better. That would have been better. That's borderline insult. That is insulting.
It is insulting. I am a pretty cultured individual. I've traveled abroad, but that's embarrassing. I've embarrassed myself and the show.
Ozzy's probably so offended, just sitting in London.
I'm gonna lose Ozzy as a supporter, and it's gonna be like losing a child. It's gonna be like a gut punch to the stomach.
Here, I honestly thought I misread this horribly. I thought Johnny was gonna come with a really highbrow, well done English accent.
Well, he was so like
tally ho. I think that's pretty good.
He was so like
is there an acting scout here?
Why does his voice go so high? Why does he go tally ho?
Hello.
Hello,
governor. That's pretty good. I think I found my tone. All right,
you're found the Will Levis of English accents.
Yeah, you found your Arizona Cardinal podcast here at PHNX Cardinals.
People are leaving in droves.
big thanks to Brian Baldinger here at the end of a program. 270 live. Drop a like on this video. Subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube if you can stomach it. We're back on a Football Thursday manana tomorrow. Right. No off day for your boys because we got no game on Sunday to cover. We are back, though, Thursday, Friday, and then Monday Night Football. I'm fired up for this week.
Yeah, you should be.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's the first primetime game since 2022, kind of, right? ESPN Plus.
Kind of. Whoops.
Get the app. And look, the Cardinals need to get back on track. First opportunity to get geared up for this game is tomorrow. We've got our guys, Kyler Murray talking. We'll hear from JG.
Yeah.
Maybe some updates. There is one roster spot available on the 53. We'll see what they do with that. Only way you're going to get that news, of course, from us, PHNX Cardinals on Twitter, Instagram, and right here on YouTube, PHNX Sports. For Damon, Dawg, Brian Baldinger, Johnny Venerable in studio. No, it's not AI. It's the real thing. We're going to be back with the real thing tomorrow on Thursday here on PHNX Cards.
Real quick, Yanks just sent in a buzzer beater super chat. $1.99. D-line better than JV English accent.
That cuts deep, Yanks. I don't appreciate that. That's as good as...
Oh, bollocks.
Oh, bollocks. That's as good as spam here on PHNX Cardinals. Good to see everybody. Maybe I'll come back and do this again. Probably not. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.